Oh, yes! I want to die and take everyone with me in a paroxysm of pain and suffering!
Previously on Christian Humber Reloaded. Part 5. The Return to Spira. Then I went through the portal and found out I was falling above a city all lit up. Then I remembered what Titus told me about Xanarkand. I realized I was going to land in Xanarkand's stadium in the middle of a blitzball game. Everyone in the stadium looked up and saw me land in the sphere pool. The announcer said, "This is truly amazing! Someone fell out of the sky and is in the middle of the field!" I looked around and saw Titus staring at me. I told him telepath, "Titus, don't be afraid of me." He looked confused when I said that. I said, "I didn't expect to land here, so after I exit the pool, you can continue your game." He nodded, and I did! Watch until he leaped out of the sphere pool to take a shot, but a blast from the other side of the city destroyed some of the buildings. And I did try to find Titus, but there were too many people in my way.
2 hours later!
I found him again, but this time he was with Wherein. I drew my sword, a buster sword, and Wherein said, "I hope you know how to use it." Titus did focus until he was holding it in one hand. I said to myself, "Sin scales." Wherein and Titus were doing okay until they got surrounded. I said, "You're not alone." They both turned around and saw me holding my sword. We killed the ugly assholes. We reached where the attack came from. Sin. When my powers returned, I flew straight up and went fast enough to go forward in time. I went back to Spira in the present and found who I was hunting, Vagnusin. This time he was feeding on the souls in the FARPLANE. I used my radio to contact Sid, and I did! I told him Vagnusin is in the FARPLANE feeding. Then I saw something on Vagnusin. I took my sniper rifle out and used the scope to get a closer look. Shujan's return. When I did find out what it was, I recognized who was piloting Vagnusin. It was someone I really hold a fucking grudge against. It was Shujan, the same asshole who tried to destroy Spira. I told Yuna, "Shujan is back and is trying to destroy Spira. Take the same route you took to get here."
Roger that, Blade. We're on our way.
1 hour later!
She brought everyone down into the FARPLANE. When I saw her, I showed her Vagnusin's pilot. Sora and Zero were there too. Sora wanted to see Shujan's ugly face, and I did show him. I told Sora, "Now you use the Thundaga 437 Hellfragger rocket launcher." When I said that, he was doing his psycho smile, which he learned from me. He pulled out his Thundaga 437 Hellfragger rocket launcher and set the rockets to guide and open fired. Shujan had no idea what was happening. Until Yuna appeared in the songstress dress sphere, Shujan's face went from pissed off to shame. Then someone else appeared and said,
Shujan, stop! You don't have to do this!
When I turned around, a woman wearing the same thing Yuna is, I recognized her from Yuna's 1,000 words. Len, the one who Shujan is in love with. Calming Shujan's tainted heart. I said, "I know you two are in love with each other, Shujan, trying to destroy Spira for revenge? What the fuck were you thinking?" He said,
"Vagnagun is all I need to get revenge."
I, in frustration, slugged him square in the face and yelled, "I could get you two married, but your heart is tainted with darkness, so you can't go into a temple without getting baptized." He looked ashamed and he said,
I'm sorry for all the damage I've done. Len, do you forgive me?"
She nodded, and I said, "Now that you two are happy again, what are we gonna do with Vagnusin?" He asked.
"Vagnusin?"
I sighed and told Len and Shujan about Vagnusin.
5 minutes later.
After I told them about Vagnusin, they understood what they had to do. repair all the faith chambers in all the temples, but right when Shujan and Len were leaving the FARPLANE's barrier prevented them from leaving the FARPLANE in Guadosalam, so I told Yuna to go get a priest from one of the temples and tell him where the wedding will be located. I decided to stay with them until Yuna came back.
2 hours later?
She came back and brought a priest into the FARPLANE. The wedding, and Kakanu returns. You know how a wedding goes, but this wedding was more interesting than any other wedding because I've never seen 2 unsent people get married before. I pretty much fell asleep during it. The thing that woke me up was the sound of a huge machine moving, and when I looked over where the noise was coming from, I laughed because Vagnuson was coming looking beautiful. Then a familiar voice spoke.
Where's the beer?
I turned around and laughed because Jekt got too drunk and acted like a complete asshole, so I had to drag him out of the middle of the aisle and say, "You can continue." Then an explosion. I knew the scent real well. It was Kakanu. I sighed and started fighting. Titus said,
Don't mind them, they're just settling a score.
I finally killed him and erased his soul from the world. And made sure Kakanu and his family won't ever come back. I didn't tell you, I have an obsession with destruction, which means if a Biffy blows up, it's probably me, entertaining myself. I've made explosives before for everyday use. I will level city blocks just for the thrill. I thought of destroying Bevel as revenge for putting me into a prison. While in the FARPLANE, I met Seymour Guado. I took him out of the FARPLANE and killed him. Yuna wanted to send him back to the FARPLANE, but I told her not to. Of course, I castrated him for being an asshole to Yuna. I didn't tell New Yevon about castrating Seymour, but they found him upside down, heart ripped out, eyes ripped out, castrated, tongue cut out, gutless, and wrapped in barbed wire. The look on New Yevon's face was classic when they saw his body still wet with blood hanging in the council chamber. I also met Yunaleska. I pretty much did the same thing I did to Seymour, but instead of hanging her upside down, I left her lying on Bevel's temple's doorstep. Yeah, I'm that ruthless. The truth about myself. Every time I enter the FARPLANE, I get a flashback showing someone carrying a white wolf and saying something that I can't understand, so in order to help me find out who was carrying that baby white wolf, I got a memory sphere and I recorded it on the sphere and took it to the Elder and showed him. He said,
I knew you would come to me with a sphere holding a strange memory.
I asked, what does this memory mean to me? He said,
You were not born in the Arctic, but in the FARPLANE!
I screamed, I was born in the FARPLANE and I didn't know about it! He said,
The person who was carrying you is someone you know very well.
After he said that, I went through my mental log of all my friends and I shrugged. He said,
The people who were carrying you are Yuna and Titus. They were sent to protect you from Seymour Guado by your father. They brought you to the Arctic for your safety.
I said, I killed Seymour with my own fucking hands. He said,
Oh, he is still alive.
I asked, how am I going to kill him? He was killed by Titus, Yuna's guardians, and myself? He said,
You must use your hidden power to kill him for good.
I asked, how am I going to awaken this hidden power? He said,
Stay in the FARPLANE and do some training until you're ready.
My true power awakened and reunited with my father at last. I did train in the FARPLANE until my corrupted side appeared. I said, the final battle against you. It smirked and began to summon something. I attacked head on and whatever it summoned hit me to the ground. When I saw what hit me against the ground, I was in shock because the summoned beast was actually all the Aeons fused into a huge beast, and among the Aeons was no other than my father. I said, You're my father. Dad, what happened to you? Before he could answer me, my corrupted self merged with it and attacked me. I tried to hold it off without hurting it, but I kept getting knocked around by it until all my friends appeared and said, I will aim for my corrupted self. They nodded and I yelled, Dad, I won't lose you again. Drawing Atonement and Tetsume, and when I had both Atonement and Tetsume out, they fused into a sword I've never seen before. Sid and the Elder were watching me fight it, and the Elder said,
Your true power is awakening!
Then I felt a little strange, then a surge of energy burst from my body, and before I knew it, ice formed, and when I looked at my reflection, I saw I had golden, white, blue, silver hair, my eyes were silver, and I looked more dangerous than when I have all my sides united. Then all my sides united, and I became even stronger. When it attacked me again, I blocked its attack with one finger. The Elder was scared because I reached my true power and ascended past it. I yelled, This is it, you ugly son of a b**********. Let my father go. I aimed for my corrupted self and released a blast that could destroy the universe twice. When it hit him, he absorbed the blast and shot it right back at me, tainted. I dodged the blast just by a nanometer. The Elder yelled at me, Use your goddamn sword! I heard him and I nodded and pulled my new sword out and charged at him. The Sacred Technique. It formed a sword, and I knew the sword very well from all the goddamn fights I had with it, the Slayer of Souls, but the sword was different. During the fight, it used all the Aeon's powers. When I got hit by the Slayer of Souls, something awakened in me, and in response I said,
Kamehameha.
Blasting him with a huge beam. When that happened, I looked at the scout droid, and the Elder was trembling really badly. It struck at me again, and I did the same thing. I asked the Elder, what did I just do? He said,
You have learned the sacred technique, the Kamehameha!
I said, cool. I turned towards my opponent and said while focusing my power,
Ka-me-ha-me.
It attacked and I finished, blasting it with all my energy. When the beam hit him, it vaporized most of his body, and then it regenerated and used my new technique against me, and I dodged the beam and said to myself, God damn it, I forgot it can learn attacks from its opponent, so I have to beat it using all my power, even if it kills me. I powered up and said to it, I'm just getting started. The Elder started screaming at me, but I ignored him. It used my new attack, but I found out he is vulnerable to attack in the back. I got behind him and did a point-blank range angel arm attack, which caught him by surprise. The ultimate transformation. After I did that, I let him regenerate, and in rage he used my new attack again, and I used the Kamehameha against him. Both of our beams collided, and Sora cut my father free from its body and got him to safety. He told me he freed my father and that I can become reckless. It was intense, because both it and I were using all our energy to try to push the opponent's beam towards him. Then my father woke up and said to me, You're stronger than it, and I know it. I yelled back to him, I've used up most of my energy, how can I continue to hold him off? He walked right beside me and used his power to give me a boost of energy, but after he did that, my corrupted self shot a blast and killed my father. Right when that happened, I started crying, then an android walked up to me and said,
I know you lost your father. You want to avenge his death, but in order to do that, release your feelings.
Then my corrupted self destroyed the android. I yelled, Android 16! Then I said, You loved life. You would give anything for it, and I just let you die, and I won't watch this anymore! After I said that, I lost it. I jumped out of the way of its beam, and I did release my anger, and I began to transform. Sora and Zero began to be pulled towards me, and I fused with them. Then Kasongto appeared and fused with me, as well as Kaze. When the bright light subsided, there was someone who was standing there. He was wearing tattered chain paints, a torn black t-shirt, no shoes, a torn leather jacket, one ear pierced, and he had a spiked necklace on. He had long gold, blue, silver, white hair, no pupils, his mark on his face, and a lot of electricity cracking around him. When I looked at Cheza, she was scared at Vash's new look. I told her, Cheza, he transformed by using his anger and love for his father and Android 16. He may look evil, but I know he's pissed at his corrupted self for both of their deaths. She looked up at me and she asked,
Is he really that angry at his shadow?
I nodded. Then she looked at the screen again and continued watching Vash's fight. Tsume was nervous and he walked out of the command center. Toby was scared at Vash's new appearance. Hige was backed up against a wall, shivering. The ultimate Kamehameha battle and Corrupted Blade's defeat. After I transformed, I looked at my corrupted self and saw he didn't expect me to transform into a very pissed off Super Saiyan Hortica Wolf Demon Dragon who is in his extreme Super Saiyan form, on the edge of tearing you to pieces at any side of movement. He used my new attack against me and I used mine. I overpowered him easily and destroyed him. I destroyed him, that way he can't come back. The aftermath. When I emerged from the FARPLANE in my new form, everyone gathered around me and was asking way too many questions. After a few minutes, I returned to normal. I tried to go back into my new form, but I couldn't. I asked the Elder why I couldn't go back into that form, and he told me that I would have to stay in the FARPLANE in order to use my new form outside the FARPLANE. I trained in the FARPLANE until I got the hang of transforming. I still visit Seasonbringer. I told him everything that I learned from the Elder. He was quite shocked when I told him that. I took him to the FARPLANE and introduced him to my father. Seasonbringer was happy to meet my father and my brother. He asked me,
Can you please show me your real power?
I asked, why do you want to see my true power? He responded,
I want to spar with you.
I said, alright, but if I accidentally kill you, it's not my fault.
Next time on Christian Humber Reloaded. Will Vashblade FARPLANE? Will the prince rescue his grandfather's soul at Duelist Kingdom? How many more final fights with Kakanu and the corrupted self will there be before the end? Find out on the next episode of Christian Humber Reloaded.